All right, stand by. Three, two, one, and we're live.
We're live.
Yes, sorry.
Sick. Welcome to Jenkins and Jones on the Volume Podcast Network. It's Thursday, May 23rd. We've misplaced Jenkins and Jones. No, John is not in the state at the moment, and Tyler is working on the Wi-Fi, but hopefully he'll be on in a second. I am Guardy B, aka Mike, and I don't have to wait for anyone to say anything about that. And that's Jackson Sappon.
Motherfucking Mike. Motherfucking Mike out here leading us, our fearless leader.
What's up, man? How you doing? You must be feeling great.
I mean, it's hard not to feel great. We were sort of just talking about it before, but despite Jayson Tatum not getting double digits until the third quarter, I mean, what can you say? They have two losses, and it seems like, I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but it seems like they're en route to either a sweep or a gentleman's sweep in the conference finals. I know they've played a cast of nobodies, it seems like, considering all the injuries and the way that the bracket fell and all that, but
Can I ask you a question?
yes, you can.
You know, there's a Western Conference Finals that's also happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I noticed that
who's
you
in
only.
those. Who's in that?
I noticed that you only scheduled recordings this week for after the Celtics games.
Well, I didn't only schedule recordings for after the Celtics games. To be clear, I did not attempt to do that, but I was trying to have more Western Conference evenings. But I don't know. I'm just ignoring the Western Conference, pretending it doesn't exist until it's here in front of me, because I do feel like both of those teams are better than the Boston Celtics as of right now.
I don't feel that way, man.
You really don't?
I've been trying for the last fucking month to like talk myself into believing that the Celtics are not winning the championship. And I'm running out of angles, like I think when you see a game like tonight, and obviously Haliburton got injured, but when they're scoring 126 points, 120 plus, and Jayson Tatum's not really even playing that well yet. He's 1 of 7 from 3 tonight. He's not shooting an efficient number in this series, and they're without their starting center. You know what I mean? It's just like at some point it feels a little bit like fan fiction. That's like I just keep waiting for. I mean, and they have looked. The thing I would say this. I think the criticisms that we've all levied against the Boston Celtics are largely true.
Yes.
But you have to look at they're up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. They've lost 2 games in the playoffs to this point. Were they head scratchers? Yeah. But teams don't go 4-4-4. Like that just doesn't really happen. So, right. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, I think tonight is acceptance night for me, unfortunately.
Wow. What a beautiful sight. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Broken.
I'm so proud of you. You reached the end. It is a weird thing though, because like you said, all the criticisms are fair. They did lose a home playoff game to 2 teams that they should not have lost a home playoff game to.
But one of them, the team set the record for the most
right.
3 points.
Exactly. And also, like, I'm not trying to be annoying, gloating Celtics fan here, but it's pretty easy to flip that and be like, they haven't lost a road playoff game yet this year. They haven't lost a road playoff game yet.
But they've got to go to Indiana now.
Right. That's Indiana with their best player on one leg. I mean, I hope Tyrese is okay, obviously, but hamstrings, are rarely a 2 days later you're back.
Yeah, situation. I think that's gonna be Tyrese hammy hurting for the rest of the series. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. I don't disagree. And so, I mean, I do think that the Celtics are not beating either of the Western Conference teams without Kristaps Porzingis. I do think they need Kristaps Porzingis too.
What's the prognosis there?
There was some reporting that he might be back by game 3 or 4 of this series, but then Joe Mazzulla was asked about it today, and he was like, I don't know where that. I mean, who knows what's true or not? But Joe Mazzulla was saying, I don't know where that information came from. I have not heard a timetable, and he's like not full on. He's like not playing 5-on-5 yet. He's like at practice and at film sessions and everything, but he's like ramping up, but he's not like practicing yet. So
I mean, the Timberwolves, we'll talk about the Western Conference Finals in a second. The Timberwolves are a very difficult matchup for them, obviously, if they don't have Kristaps,
Right.
but I don't know. I think we're seeing, I believe Tatum is going to figure it out. And a lot of people hit us up and were like, hey, you were talking shit about Tatum. He set the franchise record for fourth quarter overtime points in a playoff game or whatever. Like,
Right.
again, I stand by obviously not feeling like he's playing particularly well,
Right.
but you don't expect that to be how he plays in every game. And if Jaylen Brown's going to come out and give you 40 and Drew Holiday is going to be kind of exactly who they signed him to be, you've just got a lot of wiggle room, and it doesn't feel like any of the other three teams have wiggle room, And
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And like all I can add the clause to every single point if you want, that all of the criticism is still true. However, it's a lot easier to get by with a superstar who like just maybe doesn't have the disposition that we want him to have. Maybe that's just who he is. And I don't know if that's,
no problem with
I don't
that,
know if
though.
that's true or not. Maybe he's not Ant Edwards from a or Luka from a personality standpoint.
Right.
It's a lot easier to get by with that when that's your best player. When you have a guy like Jaylen Brown, who is when he's playing well, which is a lot this season, a psychopath and just relentlessly attacking the rim. And you have Drew Holiday and Derek White, who are making every little play you could ask them to make. It like you're saying, it provides a lot more wiggle room. And I was thinking about it today too in terms of the disposition stuff. It's like obviously you want your best player to have an Ant or a Luka or a Steph even disposition.
Yeah, but they don't always,
They don't always though. Yeah. And also like if he almost has the same disposition as Drew Holiday, which when you're Drew Holiday, when you're not the best player on the team, like is perfect, right? And so like it's not exactly what you're hoping for from a guy in that role and in that spot, but it's not like he's a loser. He's just like not this like vocal killer. I know exactly when to take over, all of those things. And so if you have plenty of supplemental talent, especially when Kristaps is there, and you have a guy like Jaylen Brown who not as talented as Jayson Tatum, not as good at like almost everything as Jayson Tatum, but like when if he has more of a switch to flip, it makes up for a lot of those problems.
Yeah, 100%. So this is it. I'm waving the white flag.
Wow.
I give up. It's the Celtics year.
Okay.
I'm not even trying. I don't even have the belief in a reverse jinx at this point. It's just like, I see what's happening. I'm looking at the Mavs and Timberwolves. I don't see it, especially if Kristaps is back. There's there's no way they're not in the finals and relatively unscathed. Like, what's the worst case scenario feel like in this series? 5 games?
The worst case scenario, it feels like, is someone just like rolls an ankle in a weird way in game.
No, but like not talking about, it's
from
like
result standpoint,
the
worst case feels like 5 games. Yeah.
So it feels like they're getting to the finals with 3 losses in a worst case scenario.
It feels that way.
And without really being that tested, despite their best player being a little bit up and down. And that's not a bad spot to be in.
I agree. And I've heard, fairly, oh guys, we may have a Tyler. We may have a Tyler. We're going to get him propped up here, loaded up here in the stream. But what I was going to say is, I've heard some people say something to the effect of, they haven't been tested, right? So they're not going to be ready for whatever playoff adversity gets thrown at them via the Timberwolves or the Mavericks. And I'm kind of like, I don't really care.
Me. That was me 2 games ago. If you get to the finals and you're untested, you only have to win 4 more games.
Right.
So I just I do think there's something to that argument, but I just, it doesn't, like, if the class is easy, it doesn't matter if you're not tested. You know what I mean?
Right. And also, like, they went to the finals before. They sort of have, if this was their first time in the finals, I might be a little bit more worried about this, like, bright lights situation. Yeah. But now I'm kind of like, if they've already won 2 playoff series, against teams that are much worse than Minnesota and Dallas, by losing one of the first 2 games, they lose game 2 because they get punched in the mouth by Ant Edwards, and that's what it takes to sort of like wake them up or whatever. Get the adversity in the right in front of them. Okay, cool. That seems seems fine and totally doable.
Yeah, I feel like I was in a let me do a Coward or
Let's
Simmons bit here. I feel like I was in a relationship and it was like all the signs were there that it was going to end, but I kept like, oh, but we went to the movies tonight and had a great time. Or like, oh, like, you know, that felt like old time. Like I keep finding these little things. And then it's like at some point you have that moment where you're sitting there and you're like, it's toast. Like that's me with my hopes of the Celtics, like be cracking under pressure or whatever. It's like,
well,
I've been going so far in my head to like write a story that ends with them shitting down their pants. And I just don't.
You have been.
Yeah, I know. And it's just, that was just Paul Pierce. I don't think any other Celtics are going to physically shit themselves, unfortunately. So, yeah, so I give up. Tyler is
Tyler's here in the Zoom. To be clear for the audience here, his camera has not been turned on, nor has his microphone. We're just
Jones is here.
On bated breath for our king to sort of just turn his video camera on and emerge from the shadows like he's Batman or something. But you know,
okay, everyone in the chat, you have to start clapping. Okay, if you don't, if you don't clap hard enough, if you don't believe hard enough in Dragonfly Jonez, he will not appear. Okay, so this is let's all together.
Yeah,
everyone's clapping.
Who knows?
I need this to work.
This is live TV, folks. welcome to Hollywood. Okay, ever wanted to live in LA? This is it. You
Chat,
did it.
You're not believing hard enough, chat.
To be clear, we're trying to communicate with Tyler, but he is in the Zoom.
He's here.
He's here. We're waiting for Tyler
it's gonna happen.
to appear like a genie, and he's gone. Wow, just a magical. No one else could see that. But people in the Zoom could see that. He has had Wi-Fi troubles. We fixed those. We used to have a lot of Wi-Fi troubles.
He's gonna be here. He's gonna be here. He logged on. It's gonna happen. Chat, you got to do better for me next time.
Oh,
here he comes.
Maybe
everyone clap as hard as they can.
This is riveting.
Everyone clap as hard as they can.
Riveting stuff.
This is Peter Pan and Tinkerbell now.
I feel like this
Tinkerbell is dead. Tinkerbell's lifeless body is in the marsh right now.
A Zoom. Oh my God. We have a Dragonfly Jonez. Hold on. We got to get our Dragonfly Jonez in the actual stream.
Tyler, I told the chat they had to clap and believe in you enough for you to appear. Off rip.
Hold on. I don't think you're like actually on the stream yet. It's connecting you because your Wi-Fi is slow.
Hold on. It's happening.
I'm gonna try to restart this. Hold on. This is you don't go anywhere, Tyler. I'm restarting it up.
It's gonna work. I told the chat when you came on and then you dropped off. I told the chat they didn't believe in you hard enough. The Tinkerbell is laying dead. She's laying dead in the swamp. You gotta clap harder for her to appear.
He is now on the screen. They can see.
Let's go. Tyler's here.
The chat is clapping. The chat is full of claps.
Fuck yeah. Appreciate it.
We did it.
Well, let me come out the gate with some fucking hot takes for y'all. Of the 4 teams left, every team can win all this shit except Indiana. Like, do we all agree there?
I just waved the white. I just physically waved a white flag that the Celtics are winning the championship.
I think
I'm out of hope. I'm out of hope. But see, but convince me because I want to be where you're at.
Here's the thing. Like I said, I think all 14 of the final 4 we've got 3 teams that can win it all. Indiana's the odd team out that cannot win it all.
Okay.
I think Boston can beat Dallas. I also think Dallas can beat Boston.
I agree.
But I do think if Boston and Minnesota meet, Minnesota beats Boston. I do not think Boston can beat Minnesota.
It's not a full-on rock, paper, scissors. Everybody beats everybody. It's like
So it's a lot of bullshit. And I know that whole who are you picking if Boston and Dallas meet? Either one is not a really good, stake my flag in, but I legitimately like Dallas is a team that gets better every fucking series. I really cannot get a read on where this team's ceiling is, right? So, but I do think that Minnesota would beat Dallas, but I do think would beat Boston. Minnesota would beat Boston. But I think Boston could beat Dallas, and I also think Dallas could beat Boston. Because like I said, I do not know what Dallas's ceiling is right now,
Yeah.
right?
So here's where I was just was at this point, in a worst case scenario, assuming the games go regularly, the Celtics are getting to the finals with at most like 3 losses and probably a perfect record on the road or 1 loss. Tatum has not been playing that well. They're still scored 126 points tonight with Tatum going 1 of 7 from 3. Jaylen Brown's dropping 40, Drew Holiday. So I just am sort of like, I feel a little bit like I've been, I use the analogy that I was like trying to convince myself the relationship wasn't over, but it's like, it's the morning, it's 10 a.m. The sun is shining through the window. And I can just see that like, I have been deluding myself into the Celtics being more prone to fucking up than they actually are. That's where I've landed.
Look, when the Pacers blew that game 1, I was like, okay, Celtics is going to win by like 15. That's just how shit flows, right? Like when you lose a game you're supposed to win, the next game is going to be an ass whooping. That's just kind of how the ebbs and flows of this shit goes. But yeah, like I said, bro, like I do think Boston is good enough to win it all.
Yeah.
Indiana is not.
No.
I think Indiana maybe, like I said, I think they probably get 1 out this series, bro.
Maybe, but if Haliburton's out, like I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
or even if he's not out with a hamstring, that's difficult to, I don't know. We'll see. But I do want to give.
This is a reverse jinx. This is a sham.
No.
This is a
That man's
sham.
about to compliment a Boston Celtic player, and he cannot believe it's about to happen.
This is not a reverse jinx. I want to say they had that stretch where they go on like a 20-0 run or whatever. The Pacers don't score a field goal for like 6 minutes. If the Celtics play defense, they're going to win the championship. And there's no team like the Pacers. We talked about this after game 1. The Pacers' chance to beat the Celtics is getting the Celtics to play their game and them scoring 4 more points than like that's how the Pacers are going to win. If the Celtics are going to just pick up the intensity on defense, if they're right, we could talk about scheme, you can talk about whatever else. If they're going to play harder on defense and make it hard on the Pacers the way they did in the second quarter, that's it. Like that's the end of the series. So, and you can't say that about any other team. Like that's just like, well, if they play hard, they're gonna win. So that's where I'm at. That's kind of I feel like where my hope is.
Listen, bro, this is the
me.
league that Adam Silver wanted, where it's parity, where it's like,
yeah,
we don't fucking know who's gonna win.
And look at the seeds.
And it's been that way. We haven't had a repeat champion since the Warriors.
Right.
Like, bro, like I said, my take if we get a Boston Celtics, if we get a Boston Dallas finals, is Boston could win or Dallas could win. Like,
right. That's the hot
take. That is right. Like that is the league of parity that they wanted. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and you mentioned we haven't had a repeat champion, but I think the other thing to keep in mind, we were one of the shows that got real dorky with the apron talk when the new CBA hit last year, but we're only just getting to the edge of the effect that's going to have. That that hard cap is really next year and going forward going to have an even bigger impact. So I think we're actually, and you know what? I'll say this, man, it's fun. It's been I wish different teams advanced or whatever, but like it's enjoyable seeing 1 seeds go down, seeing 5s and 6. Like it is more fun that way. So I have no problem with that. It makes the ESPN style narrativizing a little harder when you can't just be like, it's Giannis's chip to lose. It's Jokic's chip to lose. Like, but it is better basketball and it's more enjoyable. And I also think it takes advantage of one thing when you do era comparison, anyone who's being honest with themselves has to acknowledge that the depth of skill in the NBA currently is greater than it's ever been. Your 10th guy on every team is a much more skilled player, much more complete player than they used to be. And so you're taking advantage of that. Like, look at we were talking about the Celtics. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, obviously, but it's Derek White. It's Drew Holiday. It's, you got a lockdown leader who can play defense on the perimeter, right? And it's the same thing with the Timberwolves. These are homegrown teams by and large. Yes, they go out and make a trade, but it's really like Jaden McDaniels and guys that they drafted that you're talking about making the difference. So I don't know. I enjoy the super team era. It's when you're a Braun fan and a Lakers fan, it was cool. Like,
Yeah.
no problem with the super team era. But I do think this is healthier. And I do think that the playoffs are more exciting when you have that feeling of we're 2 games into these series and Tyler's saying 3 of the 4 teams he feels like could win the championship. That's more exciting as a fan.
Yeah. I realized also not only have we not had a repeat champion, we haven't had a repeat conference champion
Right.
in the last 5 years, which is insane. I mean, the Warriors, and when they lost to the Raptors, were a repeat conference champion. But like since then, we haven't had a repeat conference champion.
Yeah.
You want to hear I thought of this when you said how everyone is a lot more skilled now in the NBA, which I think is objectively very true.
I won't argue with people about that. That's
Yeah,
just true.
it's objectively true.
I watched basketball in the 90s. I was a basketball
true.
fan.
But so you ready for my me taking that one step too far take? Are we sure? Are we 100? Are you in your real core? Are you 100% sure that John Stockton is a better basketball player than Peyton Pritchard?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
I and you're gonna make me defend John.
I'll let Tyler fall on that. Oh yeah, I'll let my esteemed colleague field that one.
you're gonna let me defend Pritchard, which is, John Stockton, which is something I did not want to do. But John Stockton was an incredible defender and an incredible facilitator, and you have to see the game a certain way to be incredible at both of those, right? And if Peyton Pritchard, just doesn't see the game that way to be on that level, I'm
mostly joking
here, bro.
Okay, here's my question. More back here, John Stockton or the entire current NBA?
Oh, John Stockton for sure. For sure. Not even close.
John Stockton was one of those, and I am also one of these people. Yeah, he's one of those dark-haired white guys where you're like, you're making eye contact with him, like, I know your back is hairy as fuck. Like,
I didn't know that about John Stockton.
I don't even know it to this day. I'm just telling
okay.
you, just based on the way he looks, I would almost guarantee that man has a hairy back.
Fair.
Fun fact though, MJ never faced a team with 2 20-point scorers in the finals.
Damn.
It's just different. It's just different.
It's a different league, bro.
The scores were different. The fouls were different. The handshakes. I understand all that, but it's different.
That's a crazy stat. Jesus Christ.
That's a crazy stat. Okay, let's talk about the Western Conference Finals. Boy, tough first game for the Jenkins and Jones narratives. Someone just replied to the YouTube post that Jackson put up today and was like, can't wait to hear you talk about the Celtics. And oh yeah, Ant really locked up Kyrie last game.
Buddy.
I stand by loving what Ant said about getting Kyrie.
Yes.
But did you guys see Kyrie on set of Inside the NBA talking about seeing that quote from Ant?
And this is, look, bro, that shit that we got from Kyrie, that's why we need Inside the NBA, because he was comfortable, Shaq and Chuck threw him out the question in a way where Kyrie could answer it in an honest way. And he was like, they're like, I know you at the crib watching this with your family. You see Ant call you out. How you feel? Right? Like there was a rapport there that is going to get you an honest answer that we got from Kyrie, where he was like, yeah, I saw that and it motivated me a bit. Right? Like I don't know if you're going to get that on like no shots to Zach Lowe or whatever, but on an ESPN post game like that with that panel, what I mean? But yeah, I love it. I love it because Kyrie answered it honestly. He was like, oh, for sure that motivated me, and he still gave Ant his props. He's like, yeah, but Ant's a competitor. That's what we love about him, right? And
it was a great answer.
I just love that Ant said that he wants all the smoke, and Kyrie was like, okay, I got smoke for you then. You know what I mean? I love that both of those dudes were just that honest with us about being, competitors at their respective field.
Yeah.
Ant said he wanted smoke, thinking that it would be like normal smoke, and instead he got the smoke monster from Lost that is just like a living, breathing monster that is unable to be contained by any single human being. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was pretty excited for the Jaden McDaniels Luka matchup, and that went just fine for Luka, and but that's playoff basketball, man. Those dudes look like, that's what you want to see. Check ball, Those two dudes could go win you the game. They go win you the game. That's what it's supposed to be. And they both were unbelievable. So,
Luka, man, Luka's different, dog.
He's
Luka is
different.
different. He's different. Like I've got I've got a take on Luka. Like I feel like this. I think Luka is top 5-ish in the league, and I'm honestly at the point where I will hear your case out for any player that you say Luka is better than other than Jokic. Like, I'll hear you out, bro. Yeah. I really will when it comes to Luka. He's a bad motherfucker, man.
Well, and again, he's got the hot young defensive star on him for game, basically. And cool as a cucumber, bro. Little lean in, little, just a little push off, not one that's really, it would have been a really tight call for them to call that. Get that left elbow on him, step away, plenty of space, calm as could be. Yeah, he's different, bro. He's different. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
He has some of those fourth quarter clutch moments that you're like, oh, right, this is what a superstar is supposed to be. What we're talking about that Tatum sometimes sort of fades from a little bit, which is, it's whatever. Luka has all of the...
You're trying to reverse jinx.
Of course I am. But they have both guys. They have of the remaining players in the playoffs, the guys that you're like, I have complete faith in you to get a good look at the end of a game. They have the number 1 and number 2, probably, right?
You
say Ant over.
I think
over
Luka's
who?
the best player in this series. I think Ant's the second best player.
But I'll give you that in terms of trusting at the end of the game. I mean, how many tough takes did Kai have in that game, bro?
Bro, they got in that drop coverage, daring them to drive, and fucking Luka and Kai were like, okay, we will fucking eat.
Sounds great,
right? that is awesome for me. Let's set our lunch table up right here, 10 feet outside from the cup, right? Like yeah, they got to figure some shit out because that defensive scheme was just like an embodiment of kind of the NBA philosophy. Okay, don't give up the three, don't give up the shots at the cup. And Luka and Kyrie were like, okay, well, there is a whole fucking Elysian field right here of mid-range open for us, and we're gonna eat here. You know what I'm saying?
But I think it was interesting, and I could see this is kind of the argument that the Gobert defenders will make is Kai was comfortable on Inside the NBA talking about they're in the drop coverage. That's where Rudy's most comfortable. If they make the adjustment to bring him out, we feel comfortable with that too. Yeah. The unspoken part of that and what's unfair to Rudy is the reason the Elysian fields are there is because they're 2 steps and by Ant and Jaden McDaniels, right? Like that's the whole point of funneling someone is not that they get around you. They've got a clear, like they just won their matchup. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. There wasn't any funneling. It was those dudes just in their matchups, and so getting to their spots.
And then they have control, like you said. Now, I think I don't read, I'll be honest with you. I don't read too much into the game 1 result because I think, and Kyrie acknowledged this, but there's just no way it's not true. The Timberwolves look gassed, and they should be gassed. They just came off of one of the craziest back and forth series we've seen. Every minute, kind of counting, obviously, and that's in that game 7 and everything. So, I understand them coming out looking a little bit flat. Chris Finch made a similar comment. He said, they know game 1 happened now, right?
That was a really funny quote.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Chris Finch too. I mean, I do. I like Chris Finch, but I think to some extent you're just, especially when you talk about defensive effort and all that stuff, hopefully we see a Timberwolves team that goes a little harder, but it might just be that we misjudge that Mavericks team. I love everything Kyrie said in the interview last night. He talked about,
I hate to say it.
You could just see his leadership. No, I really respected it though. Him saying at the end of last season, really looking around and going, it should be me and Luka. That's, it's like none of these other dudes have been to the finals. None of these other dudes. And, he's probably looking at the Celtics the way we were looking at the Celtics last week. He's probably looking at the Celtics like, I'm going to take their fucking lunch. So, and that's the right way for him to be looking at it. He's got the experience. We know he's playing with Braun. So it's easy to think about that. Obviously, we associate that team with Braun, but who's got the moment now that the Nuggets are out? Who's got the crunch time championship moment left in the playoffs that Kyrie has? So I think he's right to have the confidence and the leadership that he has. And you can see that in the way the Mavericks are playing. So I don't know, bro. I don't know. After seeing game one, do you have the same read I do, Tyler, about the Wolves being a little flat, or do you feel like that might be Dallas' series now?
Yeah, I think the Wolves are for sure a little flat. I still got the Wolves coming out of this. Still do. I do.
I think
But
so
I
too.
think that
I think so too.
I think that Luka and Kyrie have established themselves as for sure a championship caliber duo this postseason, however shit goes. And Dallas needs to get the right fucking pieces around them this postseason to make that shit come to fruition.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the other thing with this second apron thing is it is a little bit like musical chairs when the music stops. I mean, it's like if you've got a good duo, they're probably that's going to be your group right there. You're not necessarily, I mean, even when the Lakers are talking about a third star, they're talking about moving every other guy on the team for them, which I hope they don't do. Right. So it's, if you've got a Luka and a Kyrie and they're locked in, that's your team, and then it's going to be who gets the best role players, championship pieces around those two guys. And that's, Celtics are in a good spot. I mean, it's just as the contracts come back up, right? The Thunder are going to have to start dealing with, because I think they just said SGA is going to sign the biggest contract in NBA history this offseason. So it'll be interesting. Okay, let's talk about, we've been kind of waiting to talk about this because I didn't want to talk about it while it's still in process. And I hate talking about it when John's not here. We can talk about it again next time. It does appear close to final that TNT is losing the NBA. And it does appear that it is more likely than not that as a result, Inside the NBA will be ending. We've spent plenty of time talking about how much we love that show on our podcast. I think it's the best sports show I've ever seen. I honestly think it's one of the best shows of any type on television. It's one of the only, what I always loved about listening to Jenkins and Jones before I was on it, it's one of the only places that sounds natural and sounds like a real actual conversation. That they don't force stuff, and when they do try to force it, when someone tries to force them on something, they make fun of it, So I actually was really sad about this yesterday, where I don't want to do an emotional tweet thread about it or whatever, but I'm really genuinely heartbroken about it. What do you think, Tyler? And is there hope that there's a way to make it happen through another production company or something like that?
Yeah. It broke my heart too. But like the bittersweet thing is we're at least getting a farewell season next year.
Yeah.
Before we know how shit really, really for sure shakes down, if it's like the final curtain call. And I just cannot imagine a more entertaining person in media than Chuck on his on a going away tour, right? Like I feel like he's gonna let that shit fly at sometimes. But yeah, it's just, I feel like inside the NBA, the criticism that it received, it wasn't criticism that I really gave a fuck about. I don't know how to put it any more simpler than that. It was criticism that I did not give a fuck about. It was like, oh, we need more in-depth analysis. We need, guys who aren't really, buddy like this, who aren't joking. Like, we need these games to be taken more seriously. No, we fucking don't. I'm telling you this as an East Coast person who these games are wrapping up at 1 a.m. and I'm usually high eating bagel bites. I do not need to hear in-depth breakdowns of elevator screens, bro. I need to see Shaq threatening to beat Chuck's ass if he interrupts him again and then continuing with this point, right? Like, that's the shit I want, bro. Like, I do not look, I don't want to call motherfuckers losers. I do not want to cast that wide of a brush on
call these motherfuckers losers.
But I feel like this. I feel like if you don't see the allure of Inside the NBA, you're someone who doesn't talk basketball with your friends, right? You're someone who wants this shit to be. And I'm not at all diminishing what they do, because I feel like Inside the NBA gets a bad rap because I feel like they do some in-depth analysis and breakdowns, right?
Totally agree.
Like when Kenny goes to that fucking board, he gives you some in-depth shit, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like the people who are just like, oh, the analysis isn't deep enough. It's like, bro, do you not talk basketball with your friends where the main goal isn't necessarily to to fucking have an exchange of ideas. It's to have a good fucking conversation and maybe a laugh here or two, right?
Tyler, if I'm at your house watching basketball, how many times are we saying the words pin down screen to each other, bro? Like, you know what I mean? Just like,
Right.
yeah.
And I say this because I'm not putting down the super in-depth analysis that goes on with basketball, and I feel like there's so many avenues you can go to find that. Like, I'm a big fucking fan of the dunker spot with Nikias, you know, dunking, and I love fucking, like, you know, the low post with Zach Lowe and shit. And bro, there's so many places you can go to get that. But I feel like, bro, we are watching this shit and these games are wrapping up at 1 a.m. Let's have fun with this shit.
Right.
Like, and I feel like that is the allure of Inside the NBA. They had fucking fun. It's friends talking about a fucking childhood game that people are making millions of dollars off of, and they're making great money off it, and their friends having fun with it and talking about it. And like I said, I do think that they get a bad rap, like their analysis isn't deep enough, which I think is bullshit. But bro, above all else, they wanted to package that shit where it's where it is a fun way to digest it. And I feel like, I don't know if there's another sports show out there, another basketball show out here that is focused on giving us, you know, fun analysis like they are.
No, I think you hit it on the head, which is it's always been miscast as a sports show. And you know, they don't go quite to the extent that we do. They're not doing the beast bracket or, you know, they're not doing full, like, off script stuff, but the difference between the NFL, where it's your Sunday, and then in the playoffs, it's your Saturday and your Sunday or whatever, is you hit it on the head. This is not a sports show. It's a talk show. It's Conan O'Brien. It's the Tonight Show. It's who are the guys you want to hang out with at 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, whatever it is, 4 or 5 nights a week. And to do that in a sports show, I don't want to watch most of the sports commentators at 10 a.m., much less it's 10:30 p.m. My wife is napping on the couch and I'm over here giggling. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be that feeling of, you know, like they talk about with podcasts, like you're the fifth guy. It has to be that feeling of, oh, I'm excited to have you guys in my house tonight. Even if these games were bullshit, we're going to talk about how the games were bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, like you said, we have to make it bigger than it is. It's one of the most underrated parts of that show is Charles Barkley saying, "I'm sorry, America," you know, when they have a bad game. Like, I love that, bro. Like, they don't make it bigger than it is. They have fun. The only thing I've ever disliked about it is when, you know, sometimes Shaq or Chuck will go a little too far, in my opinion, on not giving the young guys their flowers or whatever. That's the only time I've ever had any kind of a negative reaction to the show. And even then, that's genuine to who those guys are. And so I enjoy who they are and I'm comfortable with that. Even if it's like, I can agree with some of the criticisms of, like, we should be celebrating some of these guys a little bit more. But yeah, you said, I don't have anything else to say. You said everything I have to say about it. I hope they find a way to do it. Did you see Chuck on Dan Patrick this morning?
Yeah, when he was like, "Man, we don't fucking know what's going on," like that.
Yeah. But he also talked about, and you said, you know, Chuck on a farewell tour is like, we'll see what happens. He said on Dan Patrick today, he said the people I work for screwed this up. They screwed it up bad. Like, they came out and said, we don't need the NBA. Now they're spending all this money on college football. When it's like, you could have just kept doing the thing you're doing that wins the Emmy every year, that's universally beloved. Like, you know, that's your whole brand, realistically. Like, I don't watch TNT any other time, you know? So yeah, but and he talked about too, the one thing that gives me hope, Tyler, is he said that the four of them are talking about, you know, Chuck's got a production company. I think Shaq and Kenny have production companies. They're talking about doing something where Ernie would have a side deal from Turner that they could do a show that they produce and sell to somebody, you know, if it's Amazon or whatever else. I still think you lose something when it's not.
There's something when you got to fire up the laptop or the projector that's lost instead of just turning your TV, right?
Yes. I know, because I said to Josh and Jackson, like, it was like when Boomer and TJ used to do fastest 2 minutes, and it was just, you just watch the game and then the shit would be on right after. And then, you know, now it's like, and then they kept doing it, but now it's like, oh, tune in Tuesday like, so it's like, if you're a diehard fan, you can go get it, but it's not like you watch the game and now everyone's watching this right after. Like, you do. I totally agree with you. So I don't know. I hope they keep it going. One thing that was very clear was those 4 guys, and I think this comes through on the show too, feel a very deep sense of loyalty to the crew and the staff who work on the show. And I think that there's like Chuck was talking about, he and Kenny, they've all been there 20 plus years. He's like, we've had people who brought their babies in to meet us, who've now brought those kids back because they're graduating high school and college.
That's so crazy.
We know this on our show on a much smaller level. Like, yes, you care about and when Biko left, it's like, let me kiss your baby goodbye before you know what I mean? Like you really care about those people, and they have a huge staff over there that those guys really want to make sure they're not like, oh, now you produce some fucking thing that you don't care about. Like, they all know that what they have is special. And so I hope that means enough. But I guess the only other thing I would say as someone who's in media and on the local journalism side of it, it's just like these fucking private equity people fuck everything up, man. Like, they're fucking up the movie industry right now. They completely destroyed the newspaper industry. They're doing it with sports right now. And what kills me about it is these are profitable industries that they just want to be more profitable, and they would destroy our whole civilization to make it a little bit more profitable. That's what drives it's the Monty Burns. Like, I would trade it all for just a little bit more. Like, what you have is enough. What you have inside the NBA, just fucking do that. It makes people happy.
Yeah.
Like, it works. You don't, but it's like this thing with movies. No one wants to make a $15 million movie that's going to make $80 million. Any one of us would be perfectly happy making $60 million off something we were doing, but that's not what's funding projects anymore. And I really think that's such a disgrace for the way we've allowed markets to go unregulated, to the extent that things that everyone loves, we're just like, oh, well, we're losing another one. We're completely powerless to do anything about it. It's just the way the world progresses. Like, I truly hate that feeling. And I don't know what there is to do about it, but I really hate it. It's just like, leave us something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking another like sort of cruel irony part of it is that part of the reason why this is happening is because of the shift away from linear television, right? And to all these different, you have all these different individual streaming services that want a piece of the NBA pie, right? And it's like, that is both a reason that this is happening, and it's also a reason that we need this more than ever. To Tyler's point, if you want elevator screen, pin down, double drag screen analysis, there's like 50,000 of those accounts on YouTube, and there's like 100 good ones. Right. So like, there's plenty of that content, really, but there's like 2 shows where there's like have high level former NBA players from different generations hanging out as if they're in your house.
Right.
Like, there's 1 or 2 of those. There's hundreds of places you can see or listen to the deep basketball analysis. There's not that many that do what this show does, and it's getting taken away from us by the thing that makes us need it more. It's tough.
Hey, man, and listen, I'm reading The Anxious Generation right now. We talked about the Chaos Machine and Dopamine Nation. Like, I'm very big into the scientific side of this right now. Like, monoculture is healthy. Like, that's how our brains evolved, to have shared cultural experiences. And instead, it's going to be, like you said, it's 50,000 people who do the elevator screen analysis. It's like, are you like a gay Cambodian basketball fan? Do you want to hear that analysis from a gay Cambodian guy? This is the channel for you. Like, or do you want to hear it? Are you a dorky white guy? You only want to listen to dorky white guys? Come over here, and we all know what account I'm talking about for that. Like, it's just, but it's like everything gets segmented out to where, like, House of the Dragon is coming up. I feel like everyone's going to watch that, but there's just not much left that's like everyone's getting together and watching it. And this show, to me, is the best example of that. So, all right. One thing that will never die, apparently, is alligators. We've discovered recently in the group chat are immortal. I don't know if the chat was aware of that, but Tyler, did you send that, or did John send that?
John sent that shit. I feel like we might need to have John on for this. I feel like, he's got a lot of questions that might need to be answered, but We can discuss this shit.
I'm gonna just float it out there, and then we can. We'll always talk about immortal alligators. I feel like so.
I kind of missed the first topic when you guys threw this into the group chat, and I sort of came in late. Alligators are actually immortal. Is that what's happening?
Somewhat.
Or they don't age? Is that the bit?
They won't die of old age. Their cells don't age.
Yeah. Basically, they only die of like disease, injury, or starvation for the most part. And it all comes down to how their cells just do not age, right? And that's basically how you die of old age. Your cells just regenerate at a weaker and weaker point until they just cannot maintain your bodily functions, right?
Yeah.
But alligators do not have that problem, which is why alligators have been the same fucking animal for 250 million years, right? Because evolution occurs on like a cellular level, right? And if your cells don't age, evolution cannot occur there, because that's basically what evolution is like. Oh, this killed our cells, let's come back stronger to combat that, right? So but
that's how natural selection works and everything too.
Yeah, so the reason they look Jurassic is because they are Jurassic. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
and we knew that. We knew that, but I didn't know they don't age, dog. Like
their cells don't age, like their bodies grow and all that shit, but yeah, their cells are not age. Like I knew this about lobsters. I did not know that this was the thing with
so explain alligators. Explain the lobster thing, because that's actually what made me put this shit on the list. That
like, bro, we like, if you're eating a lobster at a restaurant, that lobster could be 8 months old or 80 years old. You have no fucking idea, because lobsters have the same condition where their cells do not age, and they only die by like disease or injury or starvation as well.
Or humans.
So, yeah, I knew that lobsters had that condition, and lobsters are fucking cephalopods who are fucking 300 million years old as well. So yeah, it's the animals that didn't need to evolve are still here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
But it's
like the lobsters and the gators and the crocs and shit.
Yeah. It's fucked up though that you're eating a lobster. You might be eating a little baby, or you might be eating like an 85-year-old who deserves his retirement. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's something I legit always think about whenever I'm eating lobster. Like, this motherfucker could have been born last year, or this motherfucker might be older than Queen Elizabeth. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never fucking know.
Imagine having Tyler's brain. Imagine having Tyler's brain. God, what a world. That's amazing stuff.
Oh shit. Yes, to that end, Tyler, you had a tweet today that I wanted to talk about, which was about a woman who got in a little bit of trouble on her flight because she was sitting in an exit row, and they asked her the shit they always ask people when they're in the exit row about, will you save people? And her response was, quote, "I'm not going to save anybody."
And she got kicked off. Why? Why are we punishing honesty here? As someone who has sat in the emergency row and has just said, yeah, whatever.
Give the token, yes.
Yeah, listen, if some shit really pops off, I'm getting the fuck out. I'm not saving nobody. Are you kidding me? I'm not a Boy Scout. I'm getting the fuck out of there. Why are we penalizing this woman for being the only honest person in the history of humanity to sit in an exit row? We need to give her a statue, bro. Like, no, you don't kick her off. You don't call the cops on her. You call the news. You call the newspaper. Adorn this woman for the honesty that she displayed.
She needs a statue, bro. She needs a statue at LaGuardia.
A statue at that airport that she departed from. This was the only honest person to ever step through these gates. A testament to the honesty that we all should aspire to. Because, bro, don't nobody in those exit rows be really giving a fuck about that. I know I don't.
No, I'm counting up the 8 extra inches of fucking foot room I have, bro. I'm not worried about the fucking protocols of the exit row.
Nope. Look, if I'm on that motherfucker, if it's me and wifey, I'm getting wifey out of there, and that's it. God bless, good luck to the rest of y'all motherfuckers. That's it, dog. No, I'm not fucking escorting everyone on the plane out because I got put in a seat that I didn't sign up for.
Yeah, you're the last one off the plane.
Yeah, listen, that motherfucker, when some shit pop off and that motherfucking door pops off, if I'm on that bitch by myself, I am out as soon as I can. If I'm on there with wifey, I'm like, hey, bring your ass. Let's go. It's time. I absolutely am not worrying to make sure someone in seat 2C makes their way down. Are you kidding me? Fuck no.
I fucking love that.
She's one of the
Jackson,
greatest Americans.
she is. She's an
of our
American
lifetime.
hero.
She's a hero.
He's an American hero. Do we have anything from the chat, Jackson?
Just that someone said it's a felony, not even a misdemeanor. I don't know exactly what's a felony, but
The exit row thing, or eating
the exit
an
row.
old retired.
I feel like
lunch?
anything you do on a plane gets exasperated in the court of law.
Yeah.
You know?
Felony.
We did have someone, Eric, in the chat who just said, "Would you look at that Celtics win and Jackson's back?" You're goddamn right, Eric. You are goddamn right.
We condone fair weather fandom over here. The fuck? Like, who wants to be there for the hard times? You know, like, yeah.
Wow, they made every person on the plane get off. That's fucking horrible.
Oh, that's so.
Oh, that's messed up.
She was arrested.
But yeah, that's kind of the protocol. Anytime anyone on the plane is talking crazy, they got to get everyone off and do a sweep and make sure ain't no bombs on that motherfucker or whatever. So.
Yeah. Air travel is the fucking worst, bro.
It's
It
such
is truly...
every airport or airplane story is always a good story, though. It's such a breeding ground for people acting in ways they would not act in the rest of their lives.
I'm trying to think if I have one that I could tell. I have one that I cannot tell.
Like about someone doing something on an airplane?
Yeah.
I haven't had that many crazy
it included someone I know getting arrested. I can't tell the story, but yeah, it's like anytime you read about like the Stanford experiment or like mind control experiments and you're like, this is crazy. And then it's like, anytime you're reading about one of those studies, just think about the last time you were at an airport. You know, it's some strange guy walks up to you and is like, let me see your fucking nuts, you know, and you're like, okay. You know, like it's like you're just like in the hands of the state. Like you just you have no free will. Like Tyler said, Tyler's one of the most honest, like funny people I know. That person looks him dead in the eye. Will you perform your duties in the exit row? Yes, ma'am, whatever. You're just trying to get to the other side of it, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
Every time I've been in that exit row.
Yeah.
Every fucking time.
It's worth it for the extra foot room, though. I would say that.
Yeah,
it's worth lying.
It's great.
All right. I think that's all the time we got. We'll be back on Sunday night after a Western Conference playoff game. Much to Jackson's chagrin, the Celtics may have won that series by then, right? No, they could be up 3-0.
It'll be up 3-0.
They will be up, you said.
They will be up 3-0. You like that? It's called manifesting. It's a young person's game.
What's the intersection of manifesting and jinxing? When does it go?
I hadn't really thought about it. And now I'm having some internal panic now that you described it so plainly like that. Good question though.
What's the difference, Tyler? Is it just like if like a black person does it, it's manifesting. If a white person does it, it's a jinx.
Right.
That might be a mana jinxing.
I was going to say something similar. Yeah. Like if a Republican says it, it's jinxing. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all the time we got. We'll be back on Sunday.
We may or may not have a guest.
We may or may not have a guest who may really enjoy talking about that basketball game. But we'll see y'all then. Hope everyone has a great holiday weekend. We'll see y'all on Sunday night. Bye.
Bye.